A Shot in the Arm by Dr. Jock Murray and Janet Murray. All the talk about a COVID-19 vaccine would make one think everyone is anxious to have a safe and effective way to conquer a pandemic that has altered everyone's lives, hurt world economies, and caused over 27 million cases and almost 900,000 deaths worldwide. Not everyone. The experience with available effective vaccines suggests many will not take a vaccine when available. Despite the remarkable impact of vaccines on diseases that once killed millions of people each year, the rate of vaccinations by those at risk is disturbingly low. It is particularly surprising when these vaccines are readily available at little or no cost. Influenza causes severe illness and time off work for many Canadians and causes 12,500 hospitalizations and 3,500 deaths, despite the fact that 91% of Canadians believe that vaccines are important for their health. Only 40% get the flu shot, even less in Nova Scotia and less in males. Of those who didn't get the flu shot, 20% said they didn't think they needed the flu shot because they are healthy and never get the flu. 20% had some safety concerns or felt the vaccines don't work, and 20% said they just didn't get around to it. There are vaccines against smallpox, typhoid fever, rabies, tetanus, whooping cough, diphtheria, polio, measles, German measles, mumps, chickenpox, pneumococcal pneumonia, influenza, meningococcal meningitis, hepatitis A and C, and human papillomavirus. Because of reluctance to take vaccines, called vaccine hesitancy by the World Health Organization, some of these diseases are returning when we thought they were managed or even eradicated. Vaccine hesitancy is a problem in Canada, as we have lower immunization rates than most developed countries. These are preventable diseases, and we have a moral responsibility to do what we can to reduce illness and death in others. It is a particular problem when parents do not have their children vaccinated against childhood diseases, which endanger not only them, but other children and adults. We are old enough to remember the fear of parents every year when polio epidemics threatened, and we had friends who had lasting effects from the disease. When I entered medicine, there were still iron lungs at the Victoria General Hospital. We remember quarantine posters on homes warning of diphtheria inside. Children died from asphyxiation from diphtheria. Children scarred by chickenpox, dead from measles, adult males infertile from mumps. These are all memories in our lifetime. The greatest protection is not only to be vaccinated, but to have herd immunity in the population when the majority of people are vaccinated. The vaccination rate to achieve herd immunity is different for different diseases. 90 to 95% for very communicable diseases like measles, and 80 to 85% for less communicable diseases like polio. The measles vaccine was available in the 1960s, and measles was declared controlled in 2000. But since then, the number of unvaccinated children is increasing in many countries, and each year, the number of measles cases increases by 30% each year globally in these unvaccinated children. This disturbing illness in children is preventable and solvable by parents having their children vaccinated. We may see the resurgence of diseases we thought were gone, like polio, rubella, mumps, measles, and pertussis. We understand that some people have concerns and questions about vaccines. Being concerned about vaccines is as old as vaccines themselves. Some parents are unsure of vaccines because of the confusing information and misinformation on the internet. It's harder to understand these who declare themselves anti-vaxxers and reject the history and science of vaccine benefits and safety, and develop conspiracy theories, such as the recent one of Bill Gates trying to control the world through the vaccination of people, or deliberately spread misinformation, such as continuing the discredited story that autism could be related to vaccines, all to frighten others to refuse vaccines. They are becoming more militant as they effectively use the social media and link with other right-wing and anti-government groups. Dr. Scott Ratson, editor of Journal of Health Communications and a professor at Harvard, believes we have to address the issue of vaccine hesitancy and anti-vaccine rhetoric with a program of public vaccine literacy, so people know the evidence and the science. But coupled with this is a gloves-off approach to those who spread misinformation, conspiracy theories, and anti-science rhetoric. There should be a tightening of rules that allow opt-out requests to avoid vaccination and stricter limits on unvaccinated children in classrooms. Vaccine hesitancy raises many questions. A person might argue that they can make a decision about their own health, but their children don't have a voice in being made vulnerable without vaccines, a decision that endangers others. The philosophical concept is that you are free as to your actions, but you are not free as to the consequences of your actions. Some have asked if a parent who does not protect their child may be guilty of neglect or even abuse. Others have argued for mandatory vaccination. These social and ethical questions will continue to be discussed as governments address the challenge of vaccine hesitancy. Vaccine hesitancy was listed as one of the 10 major health threats in the world by the WHO in 2019. This means that those who refuse available vaccines are a global threat, putting them in the list with climate change, air pollution, HIV infection, the threat of influenza pandemics, and drug-resistant infections. That is not good company. We need a communication strategy to reach today's generation of physicians, parents, and policymakers with understandable information about vaccine benefits and risks in language that is tailored to their concerns, delivered by sources they trust via the media they use. The threat of resurgent diseases that should have no presence in the 21st century is a challenge to all of us, and that challenge grows year by year. While we anxiously await a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, we should not neglect the things we should be doing now. Making sure our children have all their vaccines and setting a good example by getting the flu vaccine next month. So wash your hands, get lots of exercise and fresh air, and go get that free flu shot as soon as it's available.